Hello everyone, and welcome to another Let's Play of The Royal Trap by Hanako Games. My name is Anna Mardal. This will probably be my last Let's Play for this game, because today we're going to finish out the Nazagi playthrough and we'll collect his good ending, and we've seen everybody else's good endings, and I don't really want to go back and collect the normal and bad ones. I've collected a couple of the bad ones just out of morbid curiosity, and they were basically just Madeline dying in different ways, which was not really very happy. So I think I'm kind of done with this game. But so let's finish it out. When we last left in chapter 6, Madeline and Nazagi had a conversation with Dolores. They believe, based on supposition that isn't really, has no evidence and has a lot of plot holes, they believe that Dolores might at one time have been the real heir and that she was shoved aside for some reason or another, and that Cassidy is an imposter. They had considered elevating Dolores to the position of heiress, but she doesn't want that. She wants out. She wants a farm, and there's not really a lot of evidence that she would make a good ruler. And of course there'd be all kinds of political upheaval. So whether you agree with them or not, and morally it's kind of a mess, Madeline and Nazagi decided not to embroil Dolores in any schemes to make her princess in wisdom. They're kind of, you help us get more information about Caleb, and we'll help you get that farm you wanted. We talked a little bit last time about Nazagi and how he's portrayed. I won't, belabor that point, but he is living with and struggling with a disability in a sort of ableist culture where he would be a lot of times what's the right word, set aside, discriminated against, if you want to use that term. Rejected, I think, is the word I'm looking for. He would be rejected on sight by a lot of the princesses that he courts if they knew about his eyesight. He came into Madeline's room with an excuse that may or may not have been the truth. Madeline isn't sure, and disrobed himself, which you really shouldn't really do if you don't have someone's consent for that. And I'm not really sure why I've seen other people say that the Nazagi Madeline romance, if it is indeed going that direction, seems a little off. It does feel like they've been very good partners, but I haven't seen a lot of romance between them. Not in the way that she did with Oscar, and then with Caleb, that made sense to me. With Colette in the Gaston walkthrough, that too felt very natural. This is like, we're really good partners, and also here I am naked. So, oh, okay. That's a thing. So let's play through chapter 7, which I haven't seen, and possibly, very, very possibly, even probably, I will feel much different once we actually go through and see how they interact. So I have faith. So 7C, the snare. The next morning, there is no hint in Nazagi's demeanor of the previous incident. That may, of course, simply be because he has taken off his spectacles. Without them, his face always seems less expressive, more guarded. I expect the palace guard will make another inspection at some point this morning. Considering your improved appetite, it is necessary to demonstrate that I am making progress. Will they want to take me back to the dungeons then? If our suspicions are accurate, they will be hesitant to remove you and allow me full freedom of movement again. I doubt they will act precipitously. Which does not mean no, only not yet, probably. If Nazagi wishes to hold me in these rooms for a longer period, I'm sure he can unnerve the guards into backing down. But if he prefers the company of his old valet, I suppose, for my own protection, I had better be interesting company. Tell me about your homeland. Why? Why not? We have nothing else to do at the moment but talk. Is it your sister who is the heir of Asenath? Officially, Mirako is my sister. A different father? And different mother. In Asenath, all children of the highest rank are equal by birth. By your traditions, Mirako is my cousin. I'm not quite sure I understand what he means. I assume he has no sisters, so the eldest female cousin became heir. Mirako is a woman of serenity, a deep pool with the patience to outweigh the seas, the consummate wisdom. In her presence, you would no doubt find yourself ablaze with frustration, and yet completely unable to express it. That is how her sense of humor plays itself out. I wonder if that's what Nazagi would be like as a woman. You've said that your customs and skills are not like those in this part of the world. What about the plants and animals? Are there really dragons in the far reaches? I have met many sellers of dragon bone, but few who will claim to have ever seen such a beast alive. Are there dragons? I could not answer yes or no. I hope you weren't expecting to find that we kept them in cages like singing crickets. You have insects that sing? They're quite common. Ah, but their lives are so brief, none would ever survive the journey here. Your home is very different. We must seem quite odd to you. What difference is there between one place and another if you cannot see them clearly? The lack of singing crickets, for a start. He almost smiles, but the expression vanishes swiftly. Is there a purpose to this chatter? Keeping you entertained, my lord. Is that not one of my responsibilities? Before he can answer, someone knocks on the door. Inspection! Sit. Speak if they question you. The door opens, and a guard enters. Good morning, Prince Nazagi, sir. What is the status of the convict? I don't turn to look right away, but that voice sounds familiar. As you can see, she is greatly improved. I believe the worst is past. And you better now? I turn my head and manage a warmer smile than Nazagi might have intended. I was right. The guard is Lambert. And he might actually be worried about me. I'm feeling much better, thank you. I'm just tired now. Fine. I have been requested. He pulls a scrap of paper out of his pocket and squints at it. Requested to gather all objects and articles that the prisoner may have come in contact with, sir. Whatever for? Burn 'em, I guess. You will not be burning my belongings. Sorry, sir, but the steward said so. Infections have to be burned out. It would be wrong to destroy Prince Nazagi's own silk robes, don't you think? His robes? Surely you don't think I can be expected to treat a patient without laying a hand on her. There is nothing infectious about her condition. It was acute disturbance brought on by the dungeon environment. As you can see, I am not ill. No, sir, but you're... I am what? Nothing, sir. You're sure you're all right, miss? Madeline, remember? I must have made an awful mess of your dungeons. Thank you for worrying. I'm really supposed to take those things, sir. So then, has King Friedrich decided to rescind all promises of inviolate territory within these quarters? I don't know what you mean. Do you have the authority to remove my possessions against my will? No, sir. Then I would suggest that you leave. Yes, sir. I'll be on watch outside today if you need anything. I find myself unimpressed by the quality of guard training in Guelinor. Oh, he's not so bad. When your basis for comparison includes a rogue assassin, it is easy to say that another is not so bad. This fixation with burning. They're very afraid of plague here after what happened to Prince Caspian. And Cassidy, perhaps, if you're right. Prince Caleb told me that when Caspian fell ill, they kept him in quarantine for half a year before he died. They must have tried everything to keep the illness under control. An unpleasant restriction upon Caleb's youth. What? Oh no, only Caspian was quarantined, not Caleb. Unusual for such a paranoid culture. Yes, even Caleb thought it was strange. That's part of how he came up with his theory about Caspian. What theory? Oh, I didn't tell you about that, did I? It didn't seem relevant, since it was obviously incorrect. Caleb also came up with the idea that Princess Cassidy might have died as a baby, but his theory was that his parents might somehow have tried to substitute a prince for a princess. He thought it might be that Cassidy was Caspian in disguise. And you didn't think it was relevant to tell me this? Considering the trouble I'm in, spreading a rumor like that didn't seem wise, especially when I know it's not true. You have seen that for yourself. I haven't done anything inappropriate to Her Enlightened Highness, if that's what you mean. I have examined her hands, her neck, her shape, her voice. She is no man. She was confused and upset by this suggestion, as anyone would be. It's quite a shocking idea. Indeed. And why would Prince Caleb put forward such a shocking idea about his own sister? He thought she looked a little too much like Caspian. The way he's been treated, it made him suspicious. You can't seriously be considering this. What better clay to mold into a false princess than one's own flesh and blood? But she's a woman, and Caspian was most definitely a little boy. You can't turn a prince into a princess simply by wishing it. No. He stands silent in the center of the room, his eyes blank and distant. Are you all right, my lord? Long moments pass without response. Then, that guard. You had some connection with him. Lambert? He was assigned to guard me in the dungeon earlier. I was trying to befriend him. For your own ends, of course. You would have done the same. Not successfully. Did he just compliment me? And I would not call it friendship. Of course he's not a true friend. We've only spoken a few words so far. But any connection needs two ends. We give and we receive. That's how it grows. Giving and receiving. A bargain is not a friendship either. Not in itself, but a bargain that leads to two people spending time together, getting to know each other, learning to trust and rely on each other, perhaps? Isn't that friendship? He breathes out harshly. You're distracting me. I don't have time for this discussion. I need you to convince that guard to let me leave this room. There is someone I must speak to in person. A piece of the puzzle that we have missed. What's that? You were right. Some rumors should not be spread until one is certain. So he's not going to tell me. At least he still wants my aid. Well, I think Lambert may be slightly concerned about my welfare at your hands. You do have a reputation, after all. The guards probably suspect you're torturing me. If he hears the sound of a blow and a scream, he'll wonder what's going on. Get him upset, then order him to guard me while you run an errand. If he's off balance enough, he may agree. You wish me to appear as a monster to these people for a simple distraction. It's your plan, my lord. Is it worth it? Yes. So go ahead. Slap me. Lightly. Or slap your own hand near my face, anyway. That is not a wise idea in the current situation. Why, oh, If you can't see, he might miss. Fine, I'll do it myself. His face shows no reaction, but his arms quickly rise, blocking the space around him. Did he think I was going to hit him? It would probably serve him right, but it would leave the wrong clues. I'm not supposed to look dangerous for this scheme. I step further away and his hands relax. Best get on with it then. I clap my hands loudly and then tumble to the floor. Oh! The door rattles. Everything okay in there? Fine. I'm coming in. He opens the door to find me pushing myself up from the floor and crawling back to a seat. Prince Nazagi stands at a distance, turning his dispassionate gaze in my direction. To an outside observer, that visage gives the impression of harsh unconcern at best, cruel pleasure at worst. Only I know the truth. His gaze is blank because he is not completely sure what he should be seeing. What happened here? I fell. Good. Since you're here, you can watch her. What? Nazagi strides confidently towards the door. You can't go out there. I have far more important things to do than dance attendance on prison trash. That is your job, is it not? I am here in Guelinor to attend Princess Cassidy's birthday celebrations, and that is what I intend to do. So as long as you are here, the prisoner is under guard, correct? Yes, but very well. Carry on. This time, he makes it out the door before the guard can muster a proper objection. Thank you for staying. Right. He shuffles from foot to foot, walks to the door, and looks down the hall, closes and locks the door, then walks back. That prince, is it true what they say about him? What do they say? You know, that he's a pharmacist. I look around nervously, then nod. It's true. He has all these little bottles, and I even heard him say he could kill a man in one night with his poisons. Yeah, I thought so. Look, I know I'm not supposed to, but I thought, well, here. He pulls out a bit of string with something attached to it. A necklace? As soon as I take it into my hand, the smell identifies it as a bit of garlic. They really do think Nazagi is a vampire. Just in case. Just so you know, it's not allowed. He's not. He tugs at the neck of his uniform. If there's trouble, you can yell, even at night. Thanks. He leans against the doorframe, his head jerking back and forth as he shifts between watching me and looking around the room. Are you comfortable there? I could get you some water. You stay where you are. I'm just trying to help. You're not supposed to help me. Sorry. I wonder where Nazagi has gone off to anyway. What was so important that he had to check it out right away? Was it Dolores he went looking for? That wouldn't seem to be a hurry, since she was supposed to come back here anyway. Maybe he needed to speak to Prince Calum directly. It was Calum that I was talking about when he had his idea. Prince Nazagi can be so hard to read. So why'd you do it? What? The princess. All that crazy stuff. Oh, right. He means the story about me kidnapping Cassidy and all of that. I'm not sure I can even remember the details of the official version by this point, much less try to explain it. It seems like a good idea at the time. Crazy. I guess it was. But you know, sometimes, once you've made a mistake, and everything you do to try and fix it just keeps making it bigger. No. Well, never mind then. Someone knocks on the door. Is he back? No, Nazagi wouldn't knock. Who's there? It's me, Dolores. He looks at me. Why is she here? She's Callum's valet now. The guard on duty yesterday sent for her to clean Nazagi's rooms. But nobody's supposed to come in. What's going on? They let her in before. No more funny stuff. He opens the door. Go away. What? What's going on? You can't come in, Dolly. Don't call me that name. Told you a dozen times I hate that name. I'm here to see Prince Nazagi. He's not here. How come you're in there and not out here? I'm guarding, aren't I? You can just wait out there until... Ahem. Are you having some difficulty keeping order here? No, sir. This woman was just leaving. I got a right to be here. This room is under guard. That means you can't come in. Quite right. Simple rules for a simple mind. Hey! Valet, please return to your quarters. I will summon you again at a more appropriate time. Dolores glares at the guard, but leaves without argument. Nazagi steps through the door, and you may return to your duties outside my room. Never seems equally displeased by Nazagi's brush-off, but again obeys. You're good at making people fall into line, aren't you? Most are born to follow, not to lead, even you. That's not a criticism. An intelligent follower is far more valuable to me than a clumsy competitor. And of course, he can't imagine competition being anything but clumsy when compared to his illustrious self. Madeline. Eh? Has he ever said my name like that before? Why do you smell of garlic? Huh. Lambert, don't ask. I see. There is something I need to ask you. No, wait. For this, I need to see clearly. What's going on? There. I have gained important new information, which changes my plans. If you are willing to follow my lead, I have an offer which will be greatly to your benefit. All right, what's going on? In my opinion, Prince Calum is correct. The woman known as Cassidy was once known as Caspian. But it's impossible. She's a woman. You said so yourself. It is true. I know we've gone over this before, but this is very cis-normative and not actually true at all, but it is true that there are many differences between the bodies of adult men and women. In the case of a young child, such as the boy Prince Caspian once was, the distinctions are fewer. Like most in your kingdom, you fear a pharmacus blindly. You do not know all that potions can do. Certain substances fed to a child over a long period of time can prevent the body from fully developing. The child continues to grow, but without sexual features. You think someone did that to Cassidy? I believe that it was done to Caspian in order to create Cassidy. This is something difficult for me to imagine. I can't believe something like this just because he says it could be possible. And neither would he. Some urgent errand took him out of the room earlier. What proof do you have? Obviously I was not in a position to undertake a personal inspection. In light of current events, the princess does not attend even her own festivities without guards in tow. Of course. Therefore I won a private word in her ear by requesting advice on a sensitive matter. I told her you were suffering from your moon time. How clever. She had no idea what I was referring to. I explained briefly and added that some women drink monthly supplements to prevent such troubles. Not entirely true, but it has soothed her confusion, and she agreed that she does follow such a routine. She expressed great dismay at the idea that other women suffered such pain and inconvenience. Oh. Princess Cassidy, the heir of Guelenor, is not a woman at all. If she's not a woman, she can't become the wisdom. In body, she is not a complete woman. In spirit, however, she is who she seems to be. Kind and generous, gifted with the wisdom's strength to bend rather than break, an ideal wisdom. A few details out of place are not so important. Who among us is perfect? I am neither ignorant nor afraid, and that makes me a better choice for a husband than many she might face. The only difficulty would be her inability to provide the kingdom with an heir. And that is not insurmountable. Madeline. His eyes meet mine. You are an intelligent woman, capable of handling delicate tasks and thinking on your feet, and you are already known to the princess and deeply entangled in this situation. If I take the throne with Cassidy as my wife, I will still be in need of a partner to carry my heirs. What? If you accept my proposal, if I succeed in my quest, you would live in public as the highest member of our staff, a permanent fixture in the palace, your every need met. In private, you would be Cassidy's equal, a full member of the royal family. You would not be a king's wisdom, but you would be the next best thing. He wants me to become his mistress? To give birth to his children? And then to pass them off as Cassidy's children and preserve a lie into the next generation. It's improper. It's immoral. It's ridiculous. It might actually work. What? I mean, Cassidy is not an imposter, and yet there were so many rumors about her being an imposter. He's proposing that they fake Cassidy's pregnancies, hide Madeline's pregnancies, somehow do a switcheroo, which should be almost impossible because of the way royal births are almost always conducted in monarchies, to prevent this exact sort of thing, and also would require Cassidy to approve of this, which she doesn't like lies. This is entirely out of character for Cassidy, so... And he hasn't even asked Cassidy if she wants to do this. Ugh. Just yesterday, he was attempting to win over a prickly former street girl who he thought might be a lost princess in disguise. Now, without an ounce of hesitation, he changes his pursuit to a woman he barely knows. But that's his way, isn't it? No wavering, no muddy sentimentality. And his offer to me, if he keeps his promises, it's a higher position than I ever dreamed of achieving. A higher position than I ever could have achieved honestly. And, of course, we're assuming that Cassidy didn't consent to these hormone treatments, which we know from other playthroughs where we actually talk to her. She has not even been in this one, which I do not like. We know from other playthroughs that that's not true. She may not have consented to the hormone treatments themselves, but she did assert her gender identity. So I guess her parents gave her hormone treatments without talking to her about them. And so much of this game comes down to people doing things without anyone else's consent. It really bothers me that this... It's one thing for it to motivate the backstory. I get that people don't always act perfectly. But when it's also motivating the solutions, then there's a problem. Over and over again, it's like consent is seen as optional or even strange. And that's not how it is or should be. Okay, let me take a drink. Calming down. Okay. Do I really want to be bound for the rest of my life to a man like Nazagi? Not like Nazagi. Prince Nazagi himself, the terror of maids and guardsmen, the ruthless prince of ice, a schemer, a half-blind pharmacist who can puzzle out mysteries in an eye blink, but recoils from the touch of friendship. Can I abandon all that I have been raised to believe is right in order to become his concubine? So we say this is sudden to get the good ending. I am honored by your offer. Honored, yes, but will you accept? I think so, but it seems a bit less than wise to pledge the entirety of my future so suddenly. Opportunity does not always wait for careful deliberation. I know that, and I know you're never afraid to seize the moment. I've learned that about you. And I assume you've learned something about me in these past few days, or you wouldn't have made me this offer. Correct. But there's one thing that neither of us knows, which, before we agree on this plan, we ought to find out. Oh? We need to know, is this only business? Or can there be pleasure between us? Oh. I have no experience with pleasing. Well, if you want heirs, you'll have to figure it out eventually. Let's start with something simpler. Slowly, careful not to spook him, I rest my hands on Nazagi's shoulders. Soft as silk, he moves his head and the glossy length of his hair brushes against my hand. When first we touched, so many days ago, his hands were on my shoulders, paralyzing me with tingling power. And now, someone bangs on the door. Hey, let me in. Sir, you have to go back to your... Oscar! Maddie, are you in there? Are you alright? I look back at Nazagi, but he's gone? No, he was setting aside his spectacles again, which means he has a plan. Prince Nazagi steps past me and raps on the door to get the guard's attention. Gentlemen, if I may. Is Madeline in there? She is. I want to see her. Sir, you cannot go in there. This whole incident would be resolved much more quickly if you simply opened the door. I can hear bits and pieces of an argument outside. Not just Oscar and Lambert, but several other male voices as well. Get it over with. Shut him up. Not again. I tell you, he's tricky. While they argue, Nazagi reaches across and touches my hand. Have you made your decision? Before we go on, I need your word. You have it. Goodbye, Oscar. Goodbye, sensible and obedient Madeleine Valois. I'm with you. Balanced on edge for one perfect moment before the fall. The secret is, one moment is the same as 1,000. You only need one. He withdraws a tiny length of metal from a hidden pocket in his robes and quickly bypasses the door's lock. Ah, there we are. You're all right. I heard the most awful rumors. Sir, you must remain in your room. Once again, everyone starts to speak over everyone else, but Prince Nazagi holds up a pale arm for silence. I believe you are mistaken. Prince Oscar must remain in his rooms or mine. It makes little difference. As for myself and Miss Valois, you are going to escort us to a private audience with the king and his wisdom. In the end, the hardest part was breaking the news to Cassidy. As for King Frederick and wise Paloma, I think in a way they were relieved. Prince Nazagi was not the suitor they would have chosen for their heir. I have a strong suspicion that they did not intend any of the 3 suitors at this gathering to be serious contenders for the throne, but he proved himself to be in possession of several important qualities that would be of benefit to Guelinor. Most obviously, he is clever and capable of planning his way through complex entanglements of secrets and politics, an important asset for a king. On a more personal level, he is open-minded and adaptable enough to accept Cassidy's circumstances and find a way to work with them rather than be frightened or repulsed as her parents had feared. Beyond that, his knowledge of potions and their effects on the body would be of great use to ensuring Cassidy's health in the future. He will make a strong king, but he is not a man that Cassidy would have chosen for herself if she had known herself. Cassidy was brought up in perfect ignorance of men and women and their differences. Before Caleb raised her suspicions, she had no idea there was anything unusual about her, that she once had been a boy. Don't do this. If you are writing a trans woman or just a trans protagonist, trans woman, trans man, non-binary gender, do not say that their assigned gender at birth is the gender that they used to be. Don't do that. Unless you've been specifically told by a person that they're okay with you using that terminology, which usually they are not, but, individuals vary, blah, blah, blah. But that is incorrect. Cassidy is a woman. She was born a woman. The fact that her gender was assigned incorrectly based on her genitals was just not. And I'm so frustrated. I love poly relationships. I'm writing fiction right now with a male FF, one man and two women. And so I should like this poly ending of a man and two women, but I have really strong reservations with making the poly romance using words like concubine, and particularly with the one character who is coded to read more East Asian than white. And I really almost feel like this ending, it feels rushed, it feels abrupt, it feels like they didn't think it through clearly. There's all this stuff about what Cassidy told him without us being there to witness it. There's talking about how it was hard to tell Cassidy, and then show us that. It's all of this is being filtered through her cis parents, her cis fiance, through Madeline, who has a lot of cis normative thinking. This is not the way, in my opinion, to resolve this arc. I'm frustrated. In some ways, I think I'm more frustrated with this ending than I am with the other 3 or 4 that we've looked at. She is still the heir to the wisdom, brought up to love and serve her kingdom at any cost. Oh, we finally get to see Cassidy. That was quick. By now, I know how everything is shelved. It's easier to find the books myself than to wait and ask. Do you want to look at this one together? Not this time. Now that she has reached adulthood and been freed from the blinders her parents placed on her, Princess Cassidy is taking the opportunity to fill in the gaps in her education. I have been officially assigned as her companion to help her navigate these dangerous waters of personal discovery, and for other reasons. For those same reasons, the result of Nazagi's negotiation was an engagement only. There will be no hurried wedding. Everyone needs time. The second hardest part was convincing Oscar that I had joined this arrangement of my own free choice, that I really did wish to leave him. He doesn't know everything, of course. Cassidy's secrets and Nazagi's are not for me to share. But he is not a fool, my prince. My former prince. He can tell that Nazagi and I have formed some sort of connection, even if he can't imagine what I see in him. If he knew the whole truth, I don't think he would understand. I know my family never could. This is not how fairy stories are meant to end. Sometimes I find myself wondering if we've made a mistake, if a proper heroine will come along and cast us all out of the palace in the name of the true heir. But when I look at the way things are now, I can't accept that our lives are wrong and what we are doing with them are wrong. Sorry, let me try that again. But when I look at the way things are now, I can't accept that our lives and what we are doing with them are wrong. Cassidy and I are becoming friends. Nazagi will become a great king. He doesn't have to hide his eyes anymore, or do himself harm trying to change them. Cassidy doesn't have to hide from herself. And I have the home and the future I never dreamed that I could. Even Dolores has come out ahead. Nazagi managed to get her reassigned to a country estate. Not quite a farm of her own, but will give her time away from the palace and a chance to see if that's the life she really wants. I still don't know if Dolores was truly the original Cassidy or not. Why would... That makes no sense. I mean, we know she's not, but why would Madeline think she is? I don't care. Since Nazagi's gambit required that he present himself as already knowing everything, it wasn't prudent to ask too many questions. It doesn't seem relevant now. The royals wanted to see her happy, and now perhaps she can be. Yes, yes, let us end this tragedy of errors caused by poor communication by having poor communication. Let's just continue to have Friedrich and Paloma not explain things that makes no goddamn sense. That really does make no sense. That he would come up and be like, hey, I know she used to be Caspian, and they wouldn't at some point have someone say, how did you manage to do that, by the way? And then they would say, well, okay, technically we borrowed Dolores. Like, why would that not? This feels really half-assed, and I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It's an uneasy balance between our 3 points, but sometimes, just for a moment, it comes into focus, and sometimes a moment is all you need. I feel so sad. Like, this is not... I love that picture. That's an awesome picture. It's beautiful. But... it's hard for me to see this as happy. You know, if they had had even just a few lines of Cassidy falling in love with Nazagi, or Cassidy falling in love with Madeline. But there was none of that. It was just like, well, this isn't the husband she would have chosen, and she's unhappy, but everyone else made out of the deal great. Like, that's not a good ending. I cared about Cassidy. That's a good picture. I like the way Madeline's giving sweet, alluring bedroom eyes at Cassidy. I would like to believe that this MFF pairing is... which pairing isn't really the right word because it's more than 2 people, but this MFF relationship is one of love and tenderness and caring, and it would also be super great if Madeline and Cassidy were affectionate or romantic with each other, because I don't know how much Nazagi is inclined to be super affectionate and romantic. You know, I feel like this is a wonderful fanfic opportunity, but in terms of sitting here as the player feeling satisfied with the ending, I don't. I feel like this picture right here, I love. The ending concept, I love. I love this idea of taking 3 people and pairing them up. Screw it, I'm going to use the word pairing. I think technically that means 2, a pair, but English can be flexible for me. I love the idea of taking 3 people with unique skills and abilities and pairing them up instead of trying to do some kind of love triangle thing and saying, hey, let's take a 3rd option and make all this work. I think that's a great plan. I love this picture. But what we got to get here feels to me really half-baked. Like, it felt abrupt, and like we started at point A and we ended at point Z and we skipped a bunch of letters in between. That's what it feels like. And it's really upsetting for me that Cassidy, this is her story. This is her that's being discussed and moved around like a pawn. She got like 3 sentences in the epilogue, and it was literally just about the art book that Madeline was showing her, so that she can pretend to be cis for a national audience. I don't know. I saw one reviewer talk about how very unhappy they were with the Nazagi ending. I don't really remember. It's just that it left them very cold, and that they felt like Madeline, or sorry, not Madeline, that Cassidy had been manipulated. And I can see why this. And if you hadn't taken the other routes, you would not have realized that Cassidy had had more agency in her in how she was raised. than this route would seem to indicate or uncover. And I understand from a gameplay perspective that the publishers would want you to, discover different things in each route, so they can't tell you about Dolores except via the, what was that? Was it the Calum route? Yes. Okay, they can't tell you about Dolores and how they accomplished the switcheroo in every route, so you'll have to save it for the Calum playthrough. But at the same time, I don't think that is a good artistic choice when you're talking about there's going to be at least one ending, possibly more, where it looks like Cassidy had zero agency in her entire life, when in reality she did. And it's really important to know that, and I don't think it's right to strip that agency from her as far as what the player knows in order to create this different paths get you different things. That and I really do not like that felt like, well, Cassidy barely knows him and doesn't like him and wouldn't have chosen him for herself if she'd even known what herself was, which I don't like that at all. The idea that because she doesn't remember what her assigned at birth misgendering was, she therefore doesn't know herself. That is really, 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 really problematic thing to say, that she doesn't know herself because she doesn't know about how she was misgendered as a very young child. But setting that aside, I did not like that line at all. I'm not okay with the implication that the best possible husband for a trans woman is a man who isn't attracted to her and doesn't love her, but he knows about her past and he has really good pharmaceuticals, so therefore best possible husband. I'm not okay with that at all. I want to go rewatch the Gaston ending where he loved her and was attracted to her and loved her. And I didn't want to get here and not like the ending. I was looking forward to this. I like this picture. This picture tells me a happy story that I don't feel like I was actually given. You have Madeline looking relaxed, more relaxed than we ever saw in game. You have her looking happy. She's smiling and looking at Cassidy with fondness, and I would even say love and attraction even. You have Nazagi working but looking happy as well. Again, more happy than before. He's wearing his glasses. He's not hiding that anymore. You have Cassidy looking at him very fondly. The way her hand is lingering on the desk is a very sort of delicate body language of sort of caressing. She seems to genuinely care about him, and you kind of assume that he cares about her in return. So you have almost like this circle of Cassidy looking at Nazagi, and Nazagi kind of turning slightly towards Madeline, and Madeline looking back at Cassidy. And it's a very sweet picture. It's a romantic picture. I like it. But I wasn't given the actual story that led me to this picture. It's like the story was like Madeline and Nazagi almost antiseptically making all these arrangements and plans, and then going to her parents and saying, this is how it's gonna happen, and them saying, yeah, okay, it is. And some side notes about how Cassidy has no agency, isn't happy, and even treating her as ignorant, but okay, this is the best for her because this is the best possible match for a trans woman. Not someone who loves her or is attracted to her, but somebody who can fix her and work around her limitations. No, 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 I do not like that. So I basically just scrap all of this and give me this picture. And go back and rewrite it so that this picture is the story we get and not the story that we actually got. So wow, that's probably the most ranty you're gonna hear me on this game. It's actually probably the last thing you'll hear from me on this game. So let me kind of wrap up. Obviously, there are a million different possible opinions to have on this game. Mine is not the only right one. My emotional reaction is not the only right reaction. I know a lot of you have different opinions and emotions on this game. That's amazing and awesome and good. Whatever we feel about the game, it clearly was able to stir a lot of emotions, I guess is the word. So that was The Royal Trap by Hanako Games. We have seen, I believe, all the good endings. I've been working off of theroyaltrap.wikia, wikia.com/wiki/endings. I really enjoyed going through all these. I've enjoyed having you guys listen. I've enjoyed your comments. I am so thankful that you guys have all liked it as well. This wouldn't have been nearly as much fun without your feedback and your interest. So thank you for that. I have no idea what we'll do next in terms of games. I've got 3 or 4 scripts for Long Live the Queen sitting in my inbox, which I really appreciate it, by the way. Thank you for sending those. It's just been one of those things that it's like spoons. I've been lacking spoons. So thank you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye, y'all.